Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It's our Nvidia pre-results special. Nvidia will release their results for the previous quarter after the US market closes. So around about 9:30 p.m. tonight, London time. So we just want to run through a few numbers. I'm going to dive straight in. We're going to take a look at the charts. Here we go. Now, what we've seen so far today, we're going to come back to this really important sheet, but this is global equity markets. As you can see, follow my pointer there. So it's a mild sell-off kind of day. The S&P 500 is down just under 0.2%. The NASDAQ down about 0.1% as well. And we've seen some bigger losses actually in Europe. But losses before Nvidia results, this is not new. This is very, very normal. We tend to see a loss of about 1/4 percentage point in the run-up to Nvidia results. And we've seen that in the 8 times over the last 2 years. So pretty much every time they report results on that day before the results, we do see US stocks sell off. So, very, very quiet out there, a mild sell-off. But let's just jump straight in. I just want to show you, not this chart, do apologize. I want to show you this one, which is Nvidia. So this is Nvidia's chart. As you can see, we are above the current trading at 135.66-ish, pretty much flat on the day, outperforming the market just a touch, up 0.1%. But we are above the 200-day moving average. Now I know we've spoken about this a lot before. Anything above the 200-day moving average, that's pretty good. Anything below it, well, nothing good happens. That's what some people will tell you. But as you can see, very much in the consolidation pattern at the highs since February. So we've had this fantastic recovery rally. Just to put it into some perspective, we're up 23% in Nvidia in the past month, 2% in the past 5 days. We're down 0.13% on the year so far. That had been a massive loss of nearly 20% before that sharp recovery in April. And we're up 23% over the last 1 year. So Nvidia coming into this earnings report very, very strong, but in the very short term, consolidation pattern up here. As you can see, if you follow my arrow, on the far right-hand side there, as you see, very, very much a consolidation pattern. Now, let's dive in to what we can expect from Nvidia's earnings tonight. This is like an earnings estimate. So this is what analysts are expecting. Again, follow my pointer here. These are the big numbers that we need to be looking for. Q1 2026. Why is it Q1 2026? That is just their way that this is their fiscal year. It is a quirk of Nvidia. They're actually reporting Q1 26 results today. So don't worry too much about that. That still means the previous quarter. Revenues are expected to be $43.2 billion for last quarter. That's up 66% year on year. Earnings per share, remember that's a really good measure of profitability. That's expected to be 93 cents, around about 93 cents when you adjust that. Data center revenues, remember this is the key revenue for Nvidia shares. It's expected to rise by 77%, make up the bulk of their revenue growth. So come in at 39%. Now that's all the chips that they make for AI. So that's essentially AI revenue. Everything else comes from their other business models. If you go way back when, Nvidia was actually set up for video gaming. And that's what the other part of their business is. And really, they used to have a very important video gaming business and all the graphic chips for that. Well, that's obviously massively shrunk in size. But the rest of the, 5 or 6 billion will come from there if results are in line with expectations. And we've got a net income, so profit levels expected to rise by 22%. So essentially another monster earnings report from Nvidia. What do we want to, what have we technically seen when Nvidia reports results? Well, we tend to see an average move of 8.5% in the 1 day after the results are announced. So that's been the average move over the last 8 quarters. So over the last 2 years, we've seen a move of 8% to the upside. So that's just an average. History doesn't always repeat itself. It doesn't mean that we're going to see that today, but we are expecting a monster report. I mean, that's a 66% increase in revenues. Just let that sink in for a little while. That is absolutely huge. The other thing I wanted to show you is that this looks like a very complicated chart. It's really not. It's the 7 constituents of the Magnificent 7 index. So you've got Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Tesla, and Meta on there. And this is just 1 month's worth of performance data, of stock data. It is normalized so that we can see how they're moving together. So I just want to show you over the past month, if we just look at Nvidia here, Nvidia is the second best performing Magnificent 7 stock over the last month. And as I mentioned earlier, it is up 23% 3% just in 1 month. The best performer there is Tesla. So those two stocks, if we just zoom out on this chart a little bit, so if we go to a year to date, sorry guys, that's a 1 year chart, but if we go to a year to date, Nvidia, which is here, as you can say, at one point, which is the kind of the orange line, the brighter orange line that I've got there, or yellowy orange line, sorry, follow my pointer and you can see. As you can see, at one point, it was really a drag on this index alongside Tesla. Well, it's absolutely turned around in the past month. So that recovery post the reciprocal tariffs from Trump, that's had a huge impact on Nvidia. And we've really seen it now go from year to date, where it's kind of middling performance, to being one of the top performers in the past month. And I'll just go back to that month-long timeline. Just bear with me. It's going to take a little while just to get going. But as you can see now, top performer, really keeping pace with Tesla there. So those stocks that were the most sold off at the beginning of the year are now becoming the better and the leaders of the tech and the tech market recovery. Why does that matter? Well, that matters because Nvidia and Tesla together, but Nvidia in particular, they are trillion-dollar companies. So they're leading the Magnificent Seven. The S&P 500 is a market cap weighted index. You have to remember that. So the bigger the company, the more highly valued the company, they are more important in that index. So Nvidia, and when Tesla as well, combined, when they're doing really well and they're leading the Magnificent Seven higher, they are also driving forward the overall index. So hence why we've seen that really big recovery, not just in Nvidia, but over the whole of the US equity space and global equity space. But I just want to bring this back. This is just a candlestick chart. It's the one that we saw before. What levels are we looking at? Well, that key level here is 140. So that was the high of the year so far, around about that kind of 145 level. That was from mid-February. But the all-time high came on the 7th of January, and that came in at 153.13, so $153. We're currently trading at $135. So if we do see Nvidia react as it normally does, as historically has done over the last 8 quarters, then we could see a real progress made to that high from the start of January there at 153. So sorry, that was the high of the start of the year, not the February one, but more recent high of the year. So we are in this consolidation pattern. When this happens after such a big uptrend, it suggests that we've been just taking our time for the last good few sessions now. We had that blip, obviously, in risk sentiment last week. So we're moving sideways a little bit. So we just need another driver to lift it higher, and that could be this earnings report tonight. So lots of expectations are built in. Now, it's not just all about the numbers. You've also got to remember, when you talk about Nvidia, about future guidance and forward guidance when you talk about any stock, really. Now, Nvidia, it does a bit of a quirk. It only releases forward guidance for 1 quarter in advance. But we're going to be looking at a couple of things. If you remember, Joe Biden banned the export of some of the H20 chips, so some kind of lower level chips, less advanced chips, to China. So he banned that in January. So this will be the first results and reports that we get from Nvidia that will see what is the impact of that. Now, some analysts think that will lead to a $5 billion inventory charge on these earnings, which could weigh on earnings. So there is some expectation of that. Hence why we've seen this kind of sideways movement in the stock price. We could also want to see, what we also want to see is, obviously, Jensen Huang has been on this big trip with President Trump to the Middle East. What does that mean for sales? So can the Middle East overtake China? And also, will Jensen Huang and his closeness to President Trump mean that they could potentially reverse some of that ban? So that will be really, really key. Now, I also want to show you one last chart before we go, because I know everyone is really busy and waiting as well for these results. Again, they come out about 9:30 our time. Let me just pull up this one. So actually, let's look at the NASDAQ overall, because the NASDAQ has been, we'll just look at the NASDAQ 100 because that includes all those massive tech stocks. And that has also done obviously tremendously well. Again, we're in a bit of a holding pattern, slightly lower on the day as expected, but we are above all these key moving averages, which you can see here on the right-hand side. So that suggests to us that we are moving higher. The other thing that we know in advance of these earnings, guys, is the fact that we are that the biggest customer base for Nvidia are the Magnificent Seven companies. So they are Microsoft as its biggest, you've got Meta as its second biggest, you've got Amazon, and you also have Tesla. They are their biggest customers, and we already have their results, and we know that they're spending on AI infrastructure, particularly Microsoft and Meta. So they are the two biggest customers of Nvidia. So already we know that revenue should be really strong. So I think if there is a surprise, then we could see quite a sharp decline, a negative surprise, sorry, we could see quite a sharp decline in the earnings. But if there's any good news, particularly around maybe scrapping of China export restrictions, or really strong or robust demand from sovereigns who are buying AI chips now from Nvidia, then that could really help the way. But I'm going to leave you now. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it, and good luck trading today. Thank you.